Hello, podcast listeners. Welcome to Changepreneurs podcast. This is a podcast where coaches come together and have conversations that spark change. We are deeply excited to have our first episode with the guest. Of course, you must have seen that we have done 3 episodes where we have introduced our crew to you. We are a 12-member team right now from across the world. And in this new year 2025, we are really excited to have Akilesh Narayanan with us as first guest for this Changepreneurs podcast. Welcome, Akilesh.
Thank you, Satish. Thank you for inviting me to the podcast, and thank you, Inayat, for being the co-host.
Yeah, Inayat is our co-host for the day. And this is an interesting aspect that we are trying to bring to our podcast, having two hosts and one guest. Let's see how it goes. Let me introduce Akilesh to you. Aki is he known for. He's a good friend of mine. He hails from the state of Kerala in South India. Though he lived across India in all other places, presently he's living in a place called Goa. Aki is a certified NLP trainer, an ICF coach, and an international speaker. He helps coaches to build coaching business. He is also, interestingly, the promoter of Agents of Change Coaching Services. That's his name of the business. That coincides with our podcast, Changepreneurs. And Aki is on a great mission to help 10,000 new coaches build their businesses. Aki has worked with various coaches from more than 21 different countries, and he continues to work with many coaches across the world to help them build their coaching business. Aki, I always start an episode with a quote. Here is an interesting quote that I have from Blair Singer. This is how it goes. Greatness doesn't happen by chance, nor does it occur in a vacuum. Greatness comes from, first, a passion for what you do, and second, a clear understanding of what you can and want to be the best at.
It's a good one.
Yeah, it's a great quote that I came across. So let me start by asking you, Aki, how did you develop this passion for helping other people?
It's a great question, Satish. There's a long story behind it, but I'll tell you the short one just to get the podcast started, right? I remember when I was in school, by the way, I was not a very good student, right? And when you say I'm in school, people shouldn't have like high expectations, right? So I was like a terrible student. So I remember the final day of my school. A lot of my classmates were hugging each other, they're crying, and they're so feeling so sad to finish the school. And I would remember looking at them, and I thought to myself, "What's wrong with these people? Like I'm so happy to like get out of school." So the reason I'm talking about this is because for 14 years of my life, I went through something which I did not find any meaning in. But I just couldn't make sense of how the system is the way that it is, the educational system, why we have to learn maths or physics or chemistry, and nobody really tells you why you're learning all these things, right? So for the first 14 years of my life, I remember I went through a lot of things which I did not find any meaning in. So when I started my university, I'm a BTech mechanical engineering graduate, although it's only on paper. So that's the time that I started to meet people, like professors and really accomplished people who came back, like quit their careers and came back to teach in universities. And the reason they were doing that is because they wanted to make a difference in other people's lives. And that is the first conscious memory that I have of seeing people who were doing something for a greater good. They were making good money, but at the same time, they were doing something to change other people's lives. So that was the spark for me. And then obviously many more things happened, but that's the first memory I have of wanting to do something to help people.
That's interesting. So, Aki, I want to ask you. So, you said that you basically realized that you had 14 years of your life where you felt that, it was of no use. So, being at such a young age and having such a great realization that, where's my time spending to? What are the points and things that made you aware of those things? Because I think we really look for awareness in our life.
Yeah.
So, what helped you get that awareness?
Well, the simple answer is nothing really was working in my life. Like, I was constantly, obviously, I have an older sister and she's the
Okay.
complete opposite of me. She was the ideal
Okay.
student of, ideal
Like
student.
the A grade student.
Yeah, a great student and the teacher's pet, etc. Right? So I was always
Mm-hmm.
compared, and my parents used to say, "Look at your sister. Why you like this? You should take inspiration from her." And the same followed when I was going for tuitions and the teachers there as well, right? So when I look at everything that was in my life, there's only one
Mm-hmm.
thing I really enjoyed, and that was going out and playing something, either cricket, football, or some kind of sports, right? So to answer
Mm-hmm.
your question, the only reason why I started to think about this, the first conscious memory in this context that I have is that there was nothing exciting in my life, and I don't know how. Like I always had this feeling that our life should mean something, right? We are not like born
That's a
to
good one.
just eat. Just go to school and get a job and be a slave for the rest of our lives. We are born to do something meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, that's what I can think of in this moment, to be honest. There might be a few other things, but this is what I can think of as an answer to your question.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks for sharing that, Akilesh. Pretty profound, and many listeners and viewers who are watching can relate from your story. Aki, if we can just go back in memory, like 25, maybe 30 years back, 20 years back, uh, tell us a little bit more about your childhood, where you grew up, and what was it like when you grew up.
Yeah. So I grew up in Palakkad, one of the districts. It's actually, I think, the biggest district in Kerala. And so growing up, like I said before, the only thing that was really exciting for me was playing sport. And I was pretty good at it too.
Mm.
Like football and cricket and, badminton, etc. So I grew up by playing a lot. I was doing a lot of outdoor stuff. And I have an older sister and then my parents as well. So every summer vacation, my dad would take us to Coimbatore because my dad's Masi, like auntie, lived there, and her husband had expired many, many years ago. So we would go there during summer vacations. And the reason I'm talking about this because from a really young age, I saw my dad demonstrating a very important human quality, and that is showing responsibility and gratitude to the people that have taken care
Mm.
of you, right? So when my dad was a child, he lived with his auntie for many, many years because he was not from a well to do family. So the auntie took care of him, and he had a lot of gratitude towards her. So although I didn't really enjoy being away from my friends and playing, I had this thing. I saw him doing that, so that is something I really appreciated in him. And
Mhm.
other than that, I mean, in terms of childhood, I just wanted my life to be exciting. And at the time, the only thing I knew was, okay, playing sport is exciting. And years down the line, I realized that life can be exciting in many other ways too. So, but
Right.
yeah, that's brief about my childhood.
What I'm curious to know is why did you take your career towards the sports? Because you've been mentioning it quite often that you were very excited and you were always looking for excitement. So what deviated you from sports?
Well, I would try to rephrase it this way. I still play sport. I still love sport. Well, what I realized is that what it reminds me, your question, Inayat, is I guess most of our listeners might be familiar with Tony Robbins. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, among all the wonderful lessons I've learned from him, there's one concept which really stayed in my head when I learned it for the first time, and it's called the six human needs. So what he talks
Okay.
Mm.
about is all of us, regardless of which culture we are from, which country we hail from, we all have six different needs that we are after. And everything that we do in our career, life, relationships, all to fulfill one or many of these needs. And I'll give you a brief of these needs so that the audience can understand. So number one is certainty, that you want to be sure. For example, you want to be sure that you have a certain amount of money coming in at the end of the month. You want to be sure that you can pay the bills. You want to be sure that you can protect your family. So we all
Mm-hmm.
want to be sure about certain things that we value. And the
Mm-hmm.
second one is the opposite of this. It is variety, or, like, which is the opposite in a way. So this
Mm.
is where you want to have variety. Like if you're always doing, like having a same day, if you're always eating the same food, if you're always having the same routine, we get bored. So
You
we
get
want to
bored,
go for
yes.
vacation, we want to try different food. So the need for variety. The third one is significance. So this is where we want to feel important. whether that is in our family, our relationship, our work, in the
Mm-hmm.
business, in the marketplace,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the next one is love and connection. So when I say love and connection, it can be from your spouse, your kids, your parents, it can be from your friends, colleagues. And the fifth
Mm-hmm.
and sixth one, what I found interesting is people like us, coaches, we have this need a lot, and that is growth and contribution. So we want to continue to grow and make a contribution to other people's lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is when I learned this thing. When I look back on it, this is one concept which made me understand that okay, sports is not the only thing that can help me get variety. So that's what I learned.
Okay.
I realized the reason I loved sports because it was giving me a lot of variety. And when I went on my journey, which is I got a job as an engineer, just one job, and then I worked in a call,
I love how he specified just one job.
just making sure engineering companies me with a job. Anyway, so I did
Yeah.
a few different things in my career. I did not stick with a set career plan, although it was scary
Mm-hmm.
at the beginning. But looking back, I'm grateful for it. I worked in a call center. Then I worked as an English teacher. Then I took my coaching and training certification. I worked in a coaching and training company. Then I set up my own business. So looking back at this thing, a journey, what I realized is if we understand what are the needs that we are after the most in our life
Mm-hmm.
and we
Mm-hmm.
align our life with those needs, I think that is one way to guarantee that you live a happy, fulfilling, and productive life in your own way. That is
That's a beautiful way to put it. That's a
very,
beautiful way to put it.
it's a very
Yeah.
like top answer. I'm happy to give more details depending on your questions.
No, not at all. I think, sometimes we miss out on the point and we get so lost in the noise that we really forget that what is important to us and we forget our own needs over even others' needs or maybe our selfish needs. Sometimes we confuse it. So I think I love the fact that you have this set of questions and you're trying to balance your life with it. And it's working out well for you. We can all see that.
Thank you.
So very inspiring, Aki.
Thank you, Satish.
Seriously, no words. I mean, let's just say that I'm just a 25 or 23-year-old just out of college, and I'm just going to get a job. And what advice would you normally give to a 23-year-old who is just coming to the corporate setup?
Wow, great question. Give me a few seconds to think about this. Okay, so I would categorize the people coming out of universities into two different brackets. One is the students who have some clarity on who they want to be, what they want to pursue, right? Whether it is working in XYZ company or building a startup. So that let that be one category. And the other category is people who do not have any idea and they just want to be successful, whatever that means to them, right? So I'll start with the first category, which is people who have some clarity on what they want to do. So let's just say somebody coming out of university, college, has clarity and a desire to build a company or to become a Formula One driver or whatever that might be. The advice that I would have for them is find people who have achieved the results that you want to achieve.
Mm,
And in today's age, it's not that difficult. We have internet,
right.
we have LinkedIn, we have like this podcast, for example. And what I found is that most people have created some kind of change in their own way. I would say all of them are very approachable. And the people who have genuine desire to help other people, they always respond if you reach out. So don't hesitate. Number one, find people who have achieved the results you want to achieve. And second, reach out to them. And third, find a way to learn from them. If
Mm,
they have a training or if they have a course or maybe they are speaking somewhere or maybe they have a book, right? So find a way to learn from them because instead of trying to figure out and do things on your own, it'll save you a lot of time and energy if you understand how this person has achieved the results that I want to achieve and then model your results after them. So that's one. The second category is people who do not have any clarity on what to do. The first advice is stay away from negative people.
mm.
And if you don't know what negative people is, most of the time it's either your family members or your friends who pretend to be your friend.
Care for you.
Yeah, friends who pretend to care for you, but they don't really care for you, right? So stay away from those people. That's one.
Akilesh, can you describe this a little bit for us? Because it sometimes gets confusing that, we feel that, oh, our family cares for us and they are the negative people in our family. So could you just elaborate for our listeners to understand it better?
Yeah, absolutely. So everything I'm saying is from my perspective, right? So people
Mm-hmm.
listening to this, don't take it at face value. Ask questions, explore, and find out what works for you. So I'm speaking to the listeners. So in my perspective, yeah, obviously we can't avoid the family completely, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
we love them as well, we care for them. So what I'm saying is, you can still love them and respect them, yet you do not have to follow everything they're asking you to do. And this is because you're an adult. If you're 20 to 24 years old, you're an adult, and your brain is developed enough to be able to think and find your own answers. So instead of listening to what everybody is saying all the time, you ask yourself, what do you want to do? Like, sit with yourself for a few seconds or a few minutes and see how you're feeling when you're around those people. If you develop a decent level of self-awareness, your body will tell you if you're feeling uncomfortable or if you're
Mm.
feeling like unease when you're around some people. So if you're feeling like that, I would say spend less time with them. Instead of saying stay away from them, let me just say spend less time with them, and
Mm-hmm.
look for people who have a genuine interest in helping you, and
Mm.
like spend more time with people who have good intentions and good energy. And I think that if you're somebody with, coming back to the answer, right? So if you're somebody who do not have any clarity on what to do, get around people who have a genuine desire to help other people and spend more
Mm.
time with them. And, just by being around people like that, your own desire and your mental faculty will be elevated. And that will give you some kind of direction to move forward. It may not give you the 100% clarity, but it'll still give you the next few steps. So
Okay.
that is
Mm.
what comes to my mind.
Okay, coming back to Akhilesh, I'm curious to know about your journey. How did you start? Where did you get inspired to do what you're doing currently? Tell us a little bit more about that, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll go back to the one job that I had in engineering.
I love how you say the one job.
Yeah. So just to give you a backstory of that one job, right? So I finished my engineering in 2014, and I applied for 10 to 14 different companies, and I went for the first round of, they have this different rounds of interview selection, right? First you have to pass the
Mm-hmm.
written test,
Yep.
and then the group discussion, etc., etc. So I did not even pass the first round, which is the written round. So
Okay.
I think that's the first experience I have in terms of consistency. I consistently failed all the tests. So I consistently failed all the tests and I did not get any job. Whereas my closest friends got a couple of jobs like Infosys, CTS, TCS, all these companies. So I had no job and I was like, okay, what do I do now? So somebody in my network at the time said, why don't you do a post graduation? Because if you do a PG, your chances of getting a job and having a good career will be improved. And I found a college to do my MTech and I enrolled for an MTech. And 8 months into that, I realized this is just a waste of my time and my dad's money because my dad was still sponsoring me at the time. And I was a bit lost for a couple of months, and I decided to make the tough call to quit MTech, and I
Mm.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
discontinued MTech. So in 2015, I discontinued my MTech, and my dad was working in Coimbatore at the time, so I was living with him at the time. And for 2 months, I had nothing to do, and I was like, okay, what do I do now?
That must have stressed your family out, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So you can imagine what kind of things people say, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Or the So I'll tell you one thing that inspired me at the time. So obviously, I was spending a lot of time on YouTube and watching videos and all that, right? So there's one
Mm-hmm.
pattern that I saw in certain successful people, and that is, like, for example, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, right, and many of
Mm.
our Indian entrepreneurs as well. They're all dropouts. A lot of these,
Wow.
Mm.
and I had
Right.
no plan to be the next Steve Jobs or anything like.
But Indian parents always have an answer to that. That if they are dropout, doesn't mean that you are also going to be a billionaire.
That is true. That is true. And what it did for me at the time is that it gave me hope.
Yeah,
It gave
yeah.
me hope that just because I dropped out
That's
of
very powerful.
university,
Yeah.
yeah, because when you're lost, you need hope, right?
Mm-hmm.
It gave me
Mm.
the hope that just because I dropped out of university, it doesn't mean that I'll be a failure. because a lot of people were branding me like, oh, you're going to be a failure, you're going to, not get a job, nobody will want to hire you, etc. Through this journey, I found out about Sadhguru.
Wow.
And I read his book. Actually, because I was living in Coimbatore, I found out that his ashram is
It's
in
close
number
by.
12,
Yeah.
Isha Yoga Center. And when you're going through something, right, when you really want to pursue something, the people, the opportunities, and the books related to that will start showing up in your life. This is
That's true.
just
Right.
a
Very
law of
true.
attraction, right? So I went to Isha Yoga Center all by myself, and I spent a good 2-3 hours there, and I could feel a lot of positive energy there. So there was this book, I think it was called Mind, Body, and Soul, or something like that. Sadhguru
Mm-hmm.
has a book along this lines. I can't remember
Mm-hmm.
the exact title. So I read that book, and that was my first book about personal development.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I'm talking about this because that's where my personal development journey really started. And I was able to find a job. My dad had some contacts, and I got a job, and that was this one job I'm talking about, the engineering job. So it was a small factory which manufactured parts for the Indian Railway, and I was
Mm-hmm.
working there as a supervisor. And I did that for about a month and a half, and I realized, okay, this is not for me. I cannot do this anymore. And I found a job in Delhi, and it was a call center job. And I had
Mm-hmm.
no clue what I'm going to do there, but I just wanted to get away from my family and everybody that I knew because I was constantly bombarded every single day with questions,
Mm-hmm.
same questions. Why did you drop out? Or you're not going to get hired. Nobody is going to, hire you, etc., etc. So I wanted to be in an environment where nobody knows me.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to Delhi, I made a couple of connections there, and I found this job in a call center. And they were paying me 17,000 rupees per month at the time, which was more than enough for a single guy to take care of
Right.
himself and put petrol in my bike. So that was it. No saving, no investing, nothing. So it was just
Mm.
me having some decent food and putting petrol in my bike and paying rent. That's it. So I did that for about 7 to 8 months. Everything was looking good until another tragedy hit.
Mm.
And I realized the company I was working for was a scam.
Whoa.
Gosh. Mm.
Yeah. So if you know anything about the NCR area, there are a lot of scam
These
call
call
centers.
centers, call centers. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
7 to 8 months into the job, I realized I was working for a scam. And my conscience didn't allow me to be in that job anymore just to make money. So I lied to my family that I lost my job and I
Mm-hmm.
did not
Wow.
want to be in Delhi anymore because I just didn't feel good there. No offense to Delhi and the people who love Delhi, but it's just that I realized it's not for me. So I returned to Bangalore because my sister was based in Bangalore at the time. And I thought, okay, let me just go back home and then try to find something. So the day I came back to Bangalore, another chapter in my life started. Before this, I searched when I came back home. I had some meal and I searched on the internet jobs that help people.
Mm.
And the only thing I knew at this point of time was I wanted to be part of something which would make a difference to other people's lives. And I
Mm.
had no clue even if that existed at all because everything I saw at the time is people are working for a company, they're making a certain salary. I had no idea that there are industries which are dedicated for other people's well-being. And I found a blog which spoke about 7 different things, 7 different career paths to help other people. And the first 6 did not interest me, and the seventh one caught my attention. And it
Mm.
talked about become a certified English teacher, travel abroad. And the travel abroad was the only thing interesting for me. So I thought, okay, I want to travel, I want to go abroad, and I don't mind what that job is. So I clicked on it, and what I realized is that it doesn't matter what degree you have. If you do this course they're talking about, just like anyone can become a coach if they do a training, right?
Mm-hmm.
Similar to
Right.
that, I found a course. It was a 3 weeks course. I enrolled for the course, and I applied for 69 different jobs across Southeast Asia and many other parts of the world, and I got rejected by most of them. And I found one job with a company called Wall Street English, which happened to be one of the largest English language schools in the entire world. And they have like branches in more than 40 different countries. So teaching English as a subject and as a language are two different things. People confuse these things.
Mm.
So what I realized is countries like Thailand, Vietnam, China, they all require English teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And I did this program and I found this job with this company. Although they hire only native speakers of English as their teachers, I was the first person from India to be hired by them. And
What are the odds? Yeah.
yeah, so that was a great breakthrough for me. And I realized, okay, this is a great opportunity. And I got the job. I moved to Thailand in August 2016. And this is how, let's say if this was a movie, this will be the interval point. So I went from being So I went from being an engineer to working in a call center to becoming an English teacher, and I landed up in Bangkok. And I started working in this company, and it was amazing because the environment was fun. I was doing something which was making a difference to my students' life. And after 6, 7 months into the job, I started to get bored again because I was doing the same things, was feeling repetitive. And I think my need for variety started to kick in. And this is where I would say the universe brought in another great incident into my life. I had a student, his name was Meg. So in Thailand, all these students, all the people, they have a Thai name plus an English name, a short name. That's how they normally do, right? And that's the reason I shortcut my name into Aki, because they cannot pronounce Akilesh. So they will say, do you have a short name? So I said, just call me Aki. So from that moment, I became Aki. So this guy's name was Meg, and he was 17 years old. And he said, Teacher Aki, I have a dream. I want to go to Brazil for a student exchange program. And the 2 rounds of preparation for this. One is a written test, and the other one is the interview. And he said, I don't know how to present myself with the interview. I have to speak with an American person. I don't know what to do. Can you help me? And I had no clue about coaching or training or anything at this time. And I said, okay, I'll do what I can to help you. And for 2 weeks, every single day after classes, we sat down and I was doing some role play with him, asking him some questions, giving him a tough time. and and we did that for 2 weeks, right? So to cut the long story short, 30 students applied for that opportunity. Only 5 got selected, and he was one.
Wow.
And when he got this opportunity, he sent me a text. He said, Teacher Aki, thank you so much for helping me. If it was not for you, I would never be able to achieve this. And that is the moment where I felt, what if I could do something like this for the rest of my life? And that night I couldn't sleep. And I remember waking up at 2:30 in the morning, and I just sat on my bed and I just couldn't sleep because I felt like I don't want to be an English teacher for the rest of my life. I'm happy and grateful for it, but I feel like there's a next level, and I did not know what that is. So the next morning I went to work, and during my break, I was reading some random stuff on the internet, and an advertisement popped up. And the advertisement was like, do you want to become a coach and help people? And I'm like, what is he talking about? The only thing I knew is coach is related to a sports team, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, I don't want to be a coach of a football team or a cricket team or whatever that is, right? So I clicked on it. And there was a nice landing page with a lot of really interesting text. And it talked about basically you can have a profession of helping people and making money out of it. And it sounded interesting. And I registered on the application form, and somebody reached out from their team. And I scheduled a meeting with the team member of a coaching and training company based in Bangkok. So I went for this coffee meeting with this person, and he talked to me about ICF, he talked to me about NLP, coaching, training, public speaking, all of this. And during this time, I was an active member of Toastmasters as well. So I was already having some experience in public speaking at this time. When he spoke to me about this industry, I saw a synergy between coaching, training, and public speaking. And I thought, okay, maybe this is what I'm meant to do. So I decided to take this program. I did the NLP practitioner program and the ICF coach program, the ACA stage program, back to back. And after the program, I was lost. Okay, how do I get my clients? Like, I don't know what to do because I'm not from a business family. I had no clue how to pursue the business, and I was lost for a week. And I remember going back to the company and I asked for a job. I said, I want to work with you guys. I'm passionate about helping people, da da da. So they politely refused me.
Happens to the best of us.
That's the time in life I learned that you can actually say no in such a polite manner. And
It's an art.
the exact words they told me was, "We really appreciate your, your enthusiasm. We recommend that you go try out by yourself, and maybe sometime down the line we can find something to do." So this is like if you're a coach, you're reaching out to people to offer your cohort or something. Some people say, "Oh, I will consider it later," but they actually what they want to say is a no, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, So coming back to the story, so I went back again. I was lost, and I realized that the reason they're saying no is because they haven't seen the value that I can bring.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. If somebody says no, that's the only reason, because they haven't seen the value that you can bring, right? So I said, don't give me a job, give me an internship, because I want to prove my worth to you. Just let me work for free. Don't pay me anything. And because they were doing a lot of trainings at this time, I knew they needed help. So I was doing it was a small company. So except accounting and finance, I did everything else that a coaching and training company does. Organizing events, being part of the event team, setting up the microphone, the projector, all of these things. I started like that. And then a month later, they gave me a job, and I was on an 80% pay cut compared to my previous job, which was my English teaching job. And I still decided to pursue it because I wanted to start my own business one day. And so that's how I got started in this company, right? So I started to get some clients as well. And then in 2018, November 2018, another turning point happened for me. So by this time, I had actually established myself decent, like in a decent way in terms of getting clients, etc. So I realized there is a lot of problems in the coaching industry, especially with regards to getting clients. And because we were a certifying company, I spoke to my ex-boss and I said, his name was Sebastian. I said,
Mm-hmm.
Sebastian, we are training all these people to become coaches, but we're not teaching them how to get clients. And he looked at me for a few seconds and he nodded and he said, tell me more about it. And I said, I have an idea. We have a training coming up. And at the end of the training, just give me like half an hour. Let me do a presentation. And I'll teach these people an overall strategy about how to get clients. And I'll offer a program at the end of it. Let's see if somebody wants to sign up. So he said, okay, I'll give you 45 minutes. So there the presentation comes. Half an hour before the presentation, he comes to me and says, Aki, you have 15 minutes because we're running out of time. If you take 1 second more than 15 minutes, I'll stop you. So I started to cut down many of the slides in my presentation. I shortcut the presentation. I go to the stage, I start the presentation. And in 15 minutes, I'm speaking like a bullet train. And at the end of it, I make an offer. And to my surprise, 27 people were there in the audience, and 7 people out of 27 signed up for my program. And that was the very, very first time I created a program for coaches to help them to get clients. And compared to what I do today, it was a very like small offering. Now my program is much more detailed, and I have like almost everything coaches need to get clients and grow their business. But it was like a very small beginning at the time. So that was the moment where I first started to help coaches. So from 2018 to 2020, I was doing it at a small level within the company. And when COVID happened, I returned to India. And in November 2020, I started my own business. And that's when I officially started to help coaches to get clients and grow their business. And it's been 4 years now. I'm happy to share I've worked with coaches from, it's 23 countries, Satish, by the way.
Okay.
Wow.
23
Two added.
countries.
Yeah.
I offer cohorts as well. And I do offer one-on-one help for coaches. I have a one-on-one mentoring program plus a cohort for coaches. And I also speak at events and conferences, etc. So the biggest thing that inspires me is that I look at coaches as a bridge. Like, when people come to you, they have some kind of problem, right? They could be in their career, relationship, health. So as a coach, I see a coach as a bridge to help the clients go from where they are to where they want to be. And that bridge is your coaching skills, your coaching framework, whatever you want to call it. And I see myself as someone who helps coaches cross that bridge. Because if you don't know the business skills, you cannot be successful as a coach, because coaching skills is one thing, getting clients is a different skill set. So that is my journey.
Where you combine the two.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm just curious to know how's the need of variety coming up in this? Because you've mentioned it once or twice.
Yeah. Well, I still have a lot of need for variety. Be careful.
You're playing sports.
Yeah, I play.
You've expanded your business, and
Yeah, and I order from Swiggy and Zomato. I'm a big and I cook as well every few days. So yeah, I love good food. So food is definitely something that gives me a lot of variety.
yeah.
And I would say the other thing is, meeting people like the two of you, because like one of the things I love the most about our industry is having conversations like this.
Yes,
Right.
it
Absolutely.
energizes me. It energizes me.
So we're like
Yeah.
having a heart-to-heart conversation, right? It's not like
Mm-hmm.
a typical corporate made-up type of conversation. We're having
Mm.
a
Mm-hmm.
heart-to-heart kind of conversation, and I feel
Mm-hmm.
that this is the definition of a happy life. At least one part of it, in my opinion. So yeah,
Yeah. Satish, what do you think about this?
Wow. I mean,
It's pretty
to
profound.
pretty profound, amazing. To Delhi and to Bangalore, and then going to a foreign country teaching English, and then getting into coaching, and now coming back to India and serving people. Amazing, man. I can relate. There is a saying, right? If you want to do something genuinely to help people, the universe conspires you to
absolutely.
get you some resources, the right people around it. I'll just briefly tell you the audience about what happened to me yesterday. I'm in this. I'm running two projects right now, and one other project is a series of master classes that I'm doing in a local language. And 1 month back, exactly December 3rd, I just had the idea, and in about 30 days, Squire, I built the system, and I'm running the program from this Sunday. I was not finding people to sign up for the program. I sent out the communication to all the contacts that I had. So yesterday, this particular gentleman that I met at Kunur, he was my friend there. I used to play at a tennis center at Kunur, and he just had a house. And whenever he would come for a walk, he would come and talk to us. So this gentleman contacted me yesterday, and he wanted to send 10 students from economically disadvantaged section to this program. He's offering that he's sponsoring the program. And this is how universe is helping us, right? When you want to do something genuine,
Yeah.
and there are right kind of people showing up for you. This is just amazing.
Can I?
But I think I would want to add, yeah, please add, Akhilesh, then I would want to add something.
I'll get back to you. Go ahead.
No, but I feel action also matters. A lot of time, opportunity is shown to you, but if you're not taking action, I think
Mm,
it just passes by like in a zap of a minute, Because I think action is has to be combined with the opportunity. That's my take on it. Because if you're
I have
not
a
working for it, yeah, it won't work.
I have a point there. I'm a big fan of Aki was talking about Tony Robbins, right? I'm a big fan of his mentor Jim Rohn.
Yeah.
So he says that there is a law of diminishing intent. If you sit with your meditation, whenever there is an idea showing up in your mind, you have to take action on the first day. Second day, the intensity diminishes by 50%, and the third day, the idea is completely gone. So in the
Yeah,
first
agreed.
2 days, you have to take action. Please go ahead, Aki.
Yeah. So speaking about the universe giving opportunities, I remember a few years ago. So I mean, when coming to LinkedIn, right? So I've been consistent for a few years now, and I remember a couple of years ago there was a point where I felt like what I'm doing is not working because I was not getting leads for a few weeks. So my belief started to go down a little bit, right? So I was like a little confused. Should I even be in the platform? I don't know if I'm doing it right. So one person reaches out to me on LinkedIn and he says that, "Hi, Akilesh, I saw your content. I know that you're helping coaches. I'm really inspired by your work. I would like to get your help." And somebody in my connection recommended me. And the name of that connection is somebody, his name is Ranjit Rajagopal. If he's watching this,
Okay.
the
Right.
interesting thing is, Ranjit Rajagopal is a really good connection of mine. And because he has other priorities, so far he has not joined any of my programs. But he referred me to somebody within his connection who ended up becoming one of my high-paying clients. And Ranjit has
Mm,
referred three more other people, in total four people, and all
mm.
those four people have become my clients. So,
Wow.
and the interesting thing is that this happened at a moment where I was losing a little bit of belief. Although I had got clients from LinkedIn before, at this moment in time, I was losing the belief, right? So this happened. So more than getting a client, it was a reminder for me that keep pursuing the things you do because we're not always in control of the results. We can,
Yeah.
take the action.
Do the work. Yeah.
In Bhagavad Gita, there's a quote, right? Like you don't
Yeah,
have
yeah.
any right to have the attachment towards the results. You can only
Mm.
perform the duty. Exactly. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah. No,
Wow.
no, I think it's a very good reminder of actions are equally important as intentions. And let's
Right.
keep doing that because they both go hand in hand. we both like I think it's like two legs of a body. We need both of them to walk straight.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah.
So, Aki, you mentioned that in a private conversation that we had, you had an experience traveling to a foreign country
Yeah.
to do a public speaking event,
Yeah.
right? Can you share a little bit about how that happened?
Yeah, absolutely. I've done it with a few different countries, but I'll tell you which one I was talking about when we met. I think it was the Egypt
Right.
one, right?
Egypt one,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So I'll tell you how that happened. So there are a few different takeaways from this story, but I'll just complete the story first. In May 2022, someone reached out to me, and this lady was from a company called American Canadian Board of Professional Training. So they also offer a few different kind of coaching and training certification, not ICF, a different kind of program. So they reached out to me and they said that, hi Aki, we've been watching your content. We have this podcast where we invite experts in different domains, and we'd like to invite you to our podcast. It's a 20-minute conversation where you can talk about how you help coaches, how they can grow their business, etc. So I said, okay, all right, let's do it. And I did this podcast and it was done and dusted. And I forgot about it after a few months. 6 months later, the CEO of the company reaches out to me and he says, hi, Aki, hope you're doing well. I watched this podcast of yours and I really liked it. We're going to do an international conference next year. And we're inviting speakers from a few different countries. And we would love to invite you because we feel that you align with our values and the intention of the conference. When I first read it, I was not really sure if this is like legit, to be honest, because I've had invitations before where people try to.
Yeah.
There are many scammers as well in this
Yeah.
industry. So they tell you, oh, you have to pay a certain amount of money, they'll give you some
Yeah.
stupid award. So I'm like, I wasn't sure if this is legitimate. So then I went and clicked on the website and I did some research and I found out that they actually do this conference. It happened a few times before. So okay, so this is a legitimate conference. And he says something which makes my decision very easy. He says, you can also invite your wife if you want to come along, if you want her to come along. And like, okay, this is good. We can have a vacation as well. And then he also says, we'll give you a special package whereby the only thing that you pay for is your flights. And then everything from the moment you land in Cairo, we'll take care of that. So they sent somebody to pick me up, and then they gave a nice hotel by the side of the River Nile.
How was your holiday?
Oh, amazing. So, like the River Nile. So we had a balcony in the hotel room, which is a really nice balcony, and we had the view of the Nile. It was just flowing next to me. So I'm sitting here, and here the Nile River is flowing, and I could see a bridge in the distance, a beautiful view, a really nice hotel, and we had the hotel for 5 nights. And in addition to the conference, they gave a package where they took all the speakers to see the pyramids, to see the museum where they show you the mummies, etc. And obviously the Egyptian food. And we had a really nice time, like 2-3 days of outdoor visits, and then the conference, right? So the takeaway is that the reason I got this opportunity, number one, I was consistent with my content on social media. And most people don't realize this thing that you don't know who is watching you. So as long as you have belief in your message, and it's not like putting out random stuff, be clear about your target market, be clear about what problems you solve, and you speak to that target market. You don't know who is watching you. So that's one, right? And the second thing is when you get an opportunity, whether it's like a one person podcast or somebody wants to just have a normal conversation with you, speak to them as if they are your high paying client. Give them the value that you would give to a high paying client, right? And what I mean by that is you share your story, share your experience, because podcast is about that basically, right? When you're working with a client, it's a slightly different, but the value you give, you should give a lot of value. And I think these two things are very important because in our industry, these two things are very important in terms of getting opportunities like this. And just to give you a summary of what happened after this conference, we had about 21 speakers in this conference, 18 Arab speakers and 3 English speakers. And one of those English speakers, name is Georgi Gromov. He is originally Russian but lives in Germany. So he is the board member of the professional board of mentors and coaches in Moscow and London. So I have a very good relationship with him. And just a few weeks ago, he invited me to his international conference, which is an online, where they invite speakers from a few different countries internationally, and the entire audience is Russian-speaking coaches. And the
Wow.
very first time I spoke to a Russian audience, and my speech was translated into Russian language simultaneously,
Wow.
And I got a few other opportunities as well, but this was the big one. So if I had not done that, being consistent with my posts, if I had not given a lot of value in the podcast, if I had not gone to the conference, if I had not done the networking, I would not get this thing, right?
Yeah.
Just one more thing. Georgie is a PCC and he has a lot of influence in his region in the coaching world. And he's also agreed to endorse my book, which is coming out this year.
Wow.
And
Wow.
yeah, so
Congratulations on your book.
thank you. I mean, I still have to do a
Congratulations.
lot of
Yeah.
work on it, but thank you so much. So the reason I'm talking about this is because we have to be clear who our target audience is as a coach and what problems you're solving, and create content that aligns with this niche. And the people associated with that area, that field, will reach out, and you will find opportunities that improve your visibility, puts you in front of more people, and that's a great way to market yourself, right? So that's my takeaway
Hmm.
for the audience.
I think Akilesh, you said this one very important thing, consistency, because a lot of us we end up getting demotivated and lose our consistency because that is something that I'm working on. Because I am that person that if I don't get fast results, I end up losing motivation. And I was getting coached by one of the peer coaches, and I think it was one great exercise they did with me, which helped me stay motivated. Was that I love to exercise. Yeah, like I love to work out. And though I was not losing weight, but I was kind of seeing a hell lot of a difference in my body otherwise. Higher energy levels, activities increased. I could feel that I've become stronger and things like that. And she said, okay, one thing that you're very consistent at. And I just say, oh, I love to work out. He's like, now, are you seeing results? I was like, yes, I am seeing results. You know? And he's like, if you had to relate it with your work,
Yeah,
how do you think would that be?
yeah, great
Mm.
question.
So there are the small relatabilities that we don't understand that consistency can bring. Yeah. So
Right.
I think that is one thing that I'm still trying to implement it to my work. And I'm still learning and I'm still progressing. There's a long way
Right.
to go, but I think it's very, very important.
Yeah, I wish you all the best. And
Thank you.
I'll just share one tip. I think a lot of people watching will benefit from this as well. When you think of LinkedIn, right? I mean, there's a lot of different things. I won't say that I'm an expert, but many things have worked for me. Let's just put it that way. So I think that one of the biggest myths people have when it comes to content creation and getting clients from there is that people wait for other people to reach out. People
Mm.
wait for getting inbound leads, somebody to say, "Hey, can you coach me?" So the thing is, like getting clients from LinkedIn works both ways. People will reach out, but you have to reach out to people as well. And what I is that, especially in the beginning, you reaching out to people will work better. I'll give you a very simple example. So let's say you've been posting 3 times a week, for example, right? And over the period of few months, if you notice that a few people are engaging with your content consistently, whether that is liking, loving, or commenting, and you look at these people's profile, if they match with your target client, you can send them a simple message. And I do this as well. I say that, let's say, for example, "Hi, Inayat, I hope you're doing well. I noticed that you engage with my posts frequently, so I wanted to thank you for that." And then they'll respond, "Oh, your content is great. I love it. Thank you very much." And then you can ask them, "So would you love to have a conversation? I'd love to connect with you." So in the conversation, obviously as coaches, we are very good at asking about other people's stories, right? So you
Right.
can find out and gently ask, like, how are you doing in your career or your business? Are you open to working with a coach? So that way you can open up a conversation, because a lot of times the reason people don't get clients on LinkedIn or any other media for that matter is because there's not enough effort in reaching out. So don't
Mm.
wait for other people to reach out to you. That will happen in the due course of time. But let me put it this way: you will get clients and the results on LinkedIn much faster if you actually start reaching out to people who are engaging with your post. And when I
Mm.
say reaching out, don't pitch in your first message. Just reach out and say, "Hey, would you like to have a conversation? I'd love to connect with you." Something like that.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Polite and nice. Yeah.
So,
Satish, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, there are many things that I can relate here, and it's really amazing to hear your insights and your stories, Akilesh. We can have a conversation, and this can easily run into a 2-hour conversation.
Yeah.
And we have done like 50 plus minutes right now, and there are many questions that I have to cover.
okay.
Let me to I have a couple of questions around beyond what we were speaking right now. So if you were to tell our audience who is your role model and why you have them as your role model, what's your answer?
I would say I have role models, not role
Mm-hmm.
model,
Okay.
because I think that rather than having like one person as a role model, you have to look at, because life is not just one area, right? It's a balance of different areas. So I feel that you should have role models in different areas. So I remember somebody that I used to look up to a lot when I used to live in Thailand. He was excellent as a coach, very successful, millionaire, all of this, but he had no time for his family. So I realized I don't want to end up like that. And I also know somebody else who's very good with people, but financially not very strong. So to answer your question, I would like to start with my parents first, and I would say my dad is my role model in terms of keeping commitments. And this is just a small thing because I feel like this is not talked about. Everybody knows about it, but most people don't do it. Like if you say, for example, if you say you'll arrive at 8 o'clock, you have to arrive by 8 o'clock.
Right.
I believe that. If you say that you're going to send somebody a text before tomorrow evening, you have to do that. If you cannot do that, just let them know minimum, right? And don't just say, oh, I forgot about it. So in terms of commitment and keeping words, my dad is my role model. And another thing I'd like to share from my mom is that, I mean, the one quality that I admire the most in my mom is that she really, like physically, she really does a lot for other people, whether that is cooking or taking care of people. So what I learned from her is that the people that you love, there is somewhere that extra gear in your mind that if necessary, you can go beyond what physically you're capable of, for that matter, or like find more energy to physically do stuff for other people. So that is what I would say in terms of my parents. So what I learned from Sudhi, my partner, is that she is the first person that actually told me that it is okay to share my feelings, because I did not grow up like learning that your feelings can be shared, because I always learned this thing that I think most men go through this. I always learned this thing that your feelings are not important, keep it in your mind, don't pay too much attention to your feelings. So when she came into my life, I realized that sharing can actually reduce your burden. So in terms of like sharing things, I would say she is my role model. I'll just like to finish the answer with a couple more. So, in terms of public speaking and presentation skills, Tony Robbins is one of my role models. I love that. In terms of marketing, there's somebody called Russell Brunson. So he's an American entrepreneur.
Branson, yeah, I'm
Right.
aware.
A lot of inspiration from him. So yeah, that's what I would say. I mean, there are a few different people in different areas, but I'll just like to end it here.
Wow.
Being the best out of the lot.
Wow. It depends on the context. I really can't pick like one person because it depends on the
Yeah, yeah.
context, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it just depends on the context.
Yeah, yeah. No, I meant it like that because a lot of times, you're right. Like, we don't realize the fact that everybody's not perfect and they are perfect in a certain segment of their lives. So it's you are trying to learn the best, what they are best at, and pick that out and try and incorporate in yourself. And that's what growth is all about.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's a beautiful concept.
It is.
Yeah.
And
So, speaking of which, what is, I would extending to the role model question that Satish asked you, which role model was there in your life that literally changed you as a person, or really changed or made that impact on you? Which is like, boom.
I would go with Sudhi, my partner.
Sure.
And I'll tell you the reason why also. So when
Mm-hmm.
I went to Thailand, like going back to the story, to become an English teacher, a couple of months later, I met her. So that's how we connected as well. And this could be another podcast. So when I came back to India, because I came back to visit my family for a while, and we had actually connected online before that, and we were speaking over the phone. And I met her for the first time in January 2017. And we had a first date, and I shared with her my story about the struggles I had, and then how I got this job, etc. So she listened to all of that very carefully, right? Very patiently. And at the end of that, I think I talked for like 1 hour, which I had never done before. I'd never shared all that feelings and everything before, right? So I did all of this thing, and she listens to everything, and she had tears in her eyes. And
Wow.
she actually really appreciated and admired that I'm sharing this with her. And at that moment in time, she was also looking for a similar job that I was doing. So my story gave her hope and gave her more belief as well. So the reason I picked Sudhi is because she was the first person who kind of validated my struggles and my journey.
Mm.
It made me realize, sometimes you need other people to validate your struggles, because when you go through certain things, right, you don't know how much effort you're putting in sometimes until somebody acknowledges it, right?
Yeah, but a lot of people don't understand it as well.
Yeah,
The struggles that you're putting in.
yeah.
Yeah, because they are seeing from their perspective. So they don't understand that, okay, how are you? What are your value system work like? So a lot of them that goes missing. So I think you need that validation, emotional validation from
Absolutely.
people as well. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
to answer your question, I would pick her for this main reason, because there are many
Mm-hmm.
moments where like something she said really influenced me and kind of changed the direction of my journey. Obviously, not everything is perfect. We have our own
Right.
share of arguments and fights and all that, which happens with most couples.
It's normal. It's love.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's one more I'd like to share. So a few months ago, I was preparing for a speaking event, and I had
Mm-hmm.
only 6 minutes, 6.5 minutes to do this presentation in this place.
Mm-hmm.
So I did my presentation in front of her to just prepare, and I said, give me feedback at the end of it. So at the end of my presentation, I have a tendency to speak very fast, especially when I'm excited. So at the end of it, she said that, you're speaking too fast. And then the next thing she said was, in terms of public speaking and presentation skill, is the best feedback I've got till date. She said that cut 4 to 5 words in every sentence.
Mm.
And that's the day that I was reminded of what I learned in Toastmasters. It's not about how many words you have or what you say. It's about the pauses. It's about the intonation. It's about your expression, all of this, right? So I actually reduced a few hundred words from my presentation, and I managed to shortcut every sentence into like a few words. I cut 4 to 5 words from every sentence. And that actually made my presentation much more impactful when I actually went and spoke at this event.
Yeah,
Mm.
because I think you're saying it with such importance so people can focus. There a lot of messages lost in the speed you speak as well.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, it was a great feedback.
Thank you. She didn't know that it was
Yeah.
great, but I said,
Then I'm like, oh.
so
Akhilesh, what I'm curious to know is what is the plan for the future? What is the journey ahead? What do you plan for yourself?
I'm not somebody who plans extensively, to be honest, but I have
Mm-hmm.
a few things in my mind that I want to create, especially for this year. One thing is I have to step up in my business, because when you go through something, right, you reach a comfort zone in different ways. Like when you're in the
So yeah, you become a little complacent, yeah.
exactly, so that happens to all of us. So I realized that over the last few months, I'm almost at the same level, and I realized that I have to like step it up in terms of a few different things. I'm talking about business especially. So I have a few plans to serve more people, have more clients, and create more impact, and also to improve my LinkedIn content. It's good, but I want to improve it much more,
Mm.
because I found people who are doing like so much better. So I want to take inspiration from them and do that. And the other thing I would say is to travel a little bit more, because last year we did not really travel a lot. We did a little bit, but not a lot. So this year we have plans to do that as well, and also to play more, and to
Right.
have better physical.
Learn new sports. Learn new sports. I hear the pickleball and paddleball are two things, sports that are really
Yeah,
picking
Coming
up
up,
these
yeah.
days.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Satish, you are a tennis player. Are you learning these two new
this there.
sports? What's your take?
Yeah, I have this curiosity about pickleball. It's coming up everywhere, And even
Yeah,
I
it
had the
is.
intention of setting that up in Nilgiris,
Oh,
pickleball court. But then I gave up the idea and I moved to a different place right now. I'm still very curious about the sport, though I have not played. But most of my friends have played, are playing pickleball, and it's doing great.
yeah.
Lots of people are getting interested in it,
It's just,
and any sport
Yeah,
is good.
yeah.
Any sport is good. Yeah,
yeah,
So Akhilesh, what are you planning to play? What are you planning to
yeah.
play?
I would love to play tennis with Satish this year.
yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
You know,
That is something.
it all the guy.
Sure, sure, sure.
growing up, I never played. I was never into sports. I was the last person to enter the sports arena or anywhere. But I think once I got married, I was learning tennis. I think that was the only sport that I was interested in.
A good sport.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but it is an interesting sport.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I did join tennis a few months ago, but the location is so far from my place, so I kind of lost motivation to go there. But I'm playing football
Yeah.
on the weekends now, and I'm actually training to
Mm,
improve my stamina.
Mm-hmm.
amazing.
Technical ability, I'm okay, but the stamina needs to be better to play football.
Right.
So I'm working on that.
You can do a lot of breathing exercises that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Aki, we are almost coming to the logical end of our
Okay.
podcast. Before we end any episode, we would like to have something like a quick fire round.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me have some water.
Yeah. Short questions, short answers.
Short answer, like, is it one word or a few words?
You can take it, but not a longish one. Yeah. The first one. What makes Aki unique?
Positive intention.
One conversation that turned your life around.
There are many, but let me pick one. Oh, it's a difficult one. Yeah. So I would pick moving to Goa. So there's something that happened with me and Sri more than a year ago. It was a really intense argument, and we were contemplating on whether or not to move to Goa or not. But I made the call without knowing how it would happen. And then after I made the call, things fell into place and we moved to Goa.
Wow, amazing. um, Next one. What is that you value most and other people don't?
Keeping words.
Commitment.
Wow, commitment. You spoke about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And what makes keeping this commitment so important?
I feel it's about respect, right? Like we must respect each other. We don't have to like each other, but we can respect each other. So I feel like keeping your words and commitment is one of the pillars of showing respect.
Amazing. Last one, Aki, in quick fire round. What is that one superpower that you want to have?
To eat more sweets and not gain weight. Yeah.
That's a good
I'm
one.
not joking, I'm serious. I love sweets.
Why did
Right.
I think of this one? This is like crazy.
That's what I would love to have because I would.
I mean, I would want to add one more thing if I would want to, like not to have cavities after that also.
I don't have that issue.
Right.
Sweets, love sweets, but it's just that after a few days, I'm like a sponge, you know. It's both good and bad. Like when I keep eating, and then don't exercise, like my chin, I can start to see more fat here, and
Right.
like my belly becomes bigger. But when I start exercising 2 3 days, it's like fades off. So that's
Yeah.
good and bad. But yeah, that's one superpower I would love.
But then you have a good metabolic rate because you're losing also fast.
Yeah. That's what I'm thankful about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great one. So I think with this, we are come to an end of our podcast. So thank you so much, Akhilesh, for being a part of our first episode. It was a great conversation, and as you said, these conversation always energizes us. And thank you guys for spending time with us. Please like, share, and subscribe. We are on Spotify, Apple, and other podcast channels, and we have Akhilesh's details under our video, and you can approach him if you like our episode.
Thank you, and
Amazing.
thank you, Satish, for inviting me. I had a great time, and wish you very good luck for the Changepreneurs podcast this year and beyond.
Thank you so
Sure.
much. Thank you so much.
We are truly grateful for your time and sharing all that with us and our listeners. Thank you so much, Akilesh and Inayat. God bless you both.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.